I've been buying video games. Again, I thought we'd try a new style of video, seeing as, the last video where I talked about, video games and how what I've been playing reflects the state of the industry, seemed to do pretty well. I'm going to be doing a recent pickups video. I've bought all these games, and I've been playing all these games, and I just want to talk through them. Maybe you'll find something that you haven't tried yet. Maybe you'll kind of get a kind of gauge on whether it's your kind of game or not. And maybe you'll just want to see what I think and let me know in the comments what you think, whether I'm right, wrong, or, whether you kind of share the same feelings. Let's start with Raidou, The Mystery of the Soulless Army, Raidou Remastered. I picked this one up pretty cheap on Amazon for I think £17, like 20 bucks. It's by Atlas, the same people who do Persona. And I never played it back in the day. Let me know if you did, and let me know how the remaster compares. But, I was really surprised by how good of a game it still is. I know it's probably had some quality of life tweaks and everything, but one thing about the Persona games for me is that they are a little bit grindy. And, you could say that about any JRPGs. Check my, why can't I love JRPG videos? But, there's just a bit too much dungeon crawling. And Raidou has that, but it's more focused on solving detective cases, because you play as a junior detective in a kind of early 1900s Japan, so kind of like, First World War leading up to the Second World War. You have that quintessential kind of like Japanese police uniform, and you can see the spirit world, and it's kind of like Persona mixed with Ace Attorney. So you have to, people have been murdered or there's been crimes committed, and you have to solve what happened, but because you can see the spirit world, you can kind of cross over into the spirit world, and that's when you fight the demons and all of that kind of stuff, and you can kind of call on the demons, and you can see it's very, like, where Persona started its kind of life off back with this back in the day. It has the same demons as Persona and Shin Megami Tensei, but I'm enjoying it. I'm still, playing my way through it, chunking it, but, I would say if you're someone who wants a little bit more thinking to your Persona games, this is a really good pickup. Oblivion Remastered. I haven't played very much of this, because I'm gonna maybe be a little bit controversial here and say that while Oblivion was good back in the day, I think that this is a little bit of a letdown. Now, let me explain, because I don't mean the quality of the actual remaster, because that's great, the new graphics look great, and it is nice to see the world of Oblivion brought to life with modern graphics and all of that great stuff. But it's just, it kind of does highlight, because it hasn't been fully changed, even just the sewers bit, I was like, wow, this is like an hour and a half to get out of the sewers. And yes, it is the most amazing setup, and there's Patrick Stewart and all of that, but it shows how gamers have changed and how attention spans have changed, because that would never fly today. Like, if a new Elder Scrolls came out and it took hours and hours to do that, everyone would just be on their phone scrolling TikTok. So yeah, it's good, but it also, the physical version here that I have, if you see, it says requires content download, and this was part of my last video. Nothing is on the disc. Like, you put the disc in and it just downloads everything, and that kind of goes into what I wanted to talk about before, which was the game key cards on the Switch too and everything. But I don't, it just, yeah, for a game that came out on the 360 and was very physical, and then to make us download it, and then, it's a great game. Okay, let's not beat around the bush. Oblivion is a great game, but I don't know if it does hold up to a modern audience. And by the fact that I've played it less than some of these games here, really kind of emphasizes that. Again, I loved Oblivion back in the day, played tons of it on the 360 when it first came out, and was amazed at the graphics, but, you can just tell that times have moved on, and it looks great now, but it's more of a nostalgia piece if you're going to buy Oblivion Remastered. So, not as impressed as I thought I'd be with that one. Yakuza 0 Director's Cut. another one that I rushed out to buy. Now, if you played Yakuza 0 back in the day, which I didn't realize it's been almost 10 years, like 2017, 18? Yeah. I loved it, okay? This is another one that shows how far you can come as a person or as a gamer, or the games industry can come. Because when Yakuza 0 came out, it was very much my entry to the series. I tinkered with the series before, but I played this start to finish, loved it, sunk dozens and dozens of hours into it. And then it got me hooked on the Yakuza Like a Dragon series. Calling this director's cut, and there's a few extra scenes and some like multiplayer that no one cares about, but they've jazzed up the graphics a little bit. It's now 4K, but the problem is the original was 1080p and it looked great. And yeah, it's bumped up to 4K, but nothing, the textures aren't revamped, nothing has changed. It looks better on a 4K TV, but like marginally, it's just resolution. And the thing is, it's kind of like if you had Yakuza 0 on PC and had a 4K monitor and just bumped it up to 4K, like on the monitor, it would be the same thing. So I think I'm a little disappointed in the fact that I paid like full price for this, and even as a fan, I feel like there's not a lot added to it. And I'm someone who is willing to pay for like the PS5 Pro, the next graphical upgrade, but I just think that 10 years later, there's not a lot added to it. Now let's talk gameplay. Again, it shows how far that games can come in 10 years, because back in the day, I thought this was amazing, and I still like it, but it's very slow to begin. It's very, it's like every other Yakuza game, but it just shows its age a little bit. Just with, be careful with the nostalgia, I think, because the idea of when I remembered Yakuza 0 and I just immediately went out and got this because I was like, yeah, it's my favorite Yakuza game. And then I played it, I was like, why was this my favorite Yakuza game? And that might be because we've had Like a Dragon and the kind of Ichiban saga after that. So I am really kind of tepid on this one. Now, a game I love, Stalker 2. I got this for Christmas. I played the original Shadow of Chernobyl back in the day a little bit, but if anyone remembers that, it was really, really janky and kind of broken, and it like had terrible English, and it was very much like, it felt like a game you just like ripped straight off of LimeWire or something, and it crashed all the time. But I do love Stalker, and I love that kind of Metro Russian Eastern European take on the apocalypse, or the, whatever bad things are happening. And I've kind of put off Stalker 2 for a while. I have an Xbox, I never played it. I heard it wasn't, in the best state and was getting patches, and so I just kind of held off, even though I do love it. And I tell you something, I wish I hadn't held off. I would say if you haven't played Stalker 2 yet and you're kind of into those games, this, for me, has been better than Fallout. I really enjoy it. There's all of the little side missions intertwine. The main story is super, super interesting. There's just so much going on. It's, if you it doesn't tell you, it doesn't hold your hand and say, oh, you've pissed off this faction, you've done this, you've done that. It's just like, you might take out a character and then like 10 hours later go like, uh-oh, shouldn't have done that. It's just really interesting, and the gunplay is some of the best that I have seen. Like, if you're into kind of realistic weapons, you can put all kinds of attachments on the weapons in this. You can find all kinds of weapons. It's just super cool. It's like one shot will take out an enemy, and it doesn't take much to kill you either, and that is one of the best things about Stalker 2, even though I'm holding it upside down. It's super, super good. And so if you're kind of like looking for a Metro, it's more like Metro than Fallout, but if you haven't played any of them and you're looking for like Fallout, but a bit more realistic and pessimistic, kind of like a depressing view on things, I would say give Stalker a go, because this is one of the favorite, my favorite games like of recent times. All right, let's talk Battlefield 6. Now, again, I'm a huge Battlefield fan. And 6 is a weird one for me because I played 2 a lot, which was the first Modern Warfare type one. That was great, but it had larger squads, and then the Project Reality mod that turned into the game squad. There's a lot of rhyming there. But the thing is, it's a little bit Call of Duty like. Yeah, there's a lot. I see a lot of people like bunny hopping and shooting and jumping and all of that. You're gonna get that, but it's a good game. I'll say that it's a good game. I've enjoyed my time with it. There's not a lot of content, and that's something that I was super kind of like taken aback by when I bought this. Is that it's great, but there's like a handful of maps really, and it's been out since September, October time, and they haven't really. They've put out season sort of updates, but nothing substantial, and I kind of got bored of like the same maps and the same. I'm like, okay, we've played this, and once you kind of work out a map, and once the community's worked out a map, because everyone loves to min-max, and you're like, oh yeah, you just go this way and then this way, and then like put a spawn beacon over here, and then spawn in behind them, and blah blah blah. Like, that's kind of what happens and gets repeated ad nauseum. So Battlefield 6 is a bit of an iffy one. Again, I enjoy it, but I think that if they wanted, after Battlefield 2042 or 2142, whatever the last one was, and that was just so terrible, this one, I think they really should have been prepared to really push a bit harder to really take out Call of Duty, especially in a year when Call of Duty is not doing so well. Speaking of Call of Duty, I caved and bought Black Ops 7. I haven't played the campaign because it's just trash, but, you know, multiplayer, I was enjoying. And what's weird is that I think this game gets a lot of hate, deservedly so with the campaign, but there's so much content multiplayer-wise here that it's kind of better than Battlefield in a lot of ways. They've kind of really understood that they screwed up, and they've kind of doubled down to give you your money's worth with it. The problem is I started playing ranked, and it's just full of sweats, like, and I'm decent at Call of Duty. I'm not saying this is like an unk guy who can't pick out which stick to press. Like, I'm pretty good at shooters because I grew up playing shooters, and it's just kind of like, you know, while the game, you know, the servers are better, more responsive, and everything is just like more polished actually in multiplayer, and there's a huge zombies mode, so that's also good, but it's just the typical people who I don't think any other game has, barring maybe World of Warcraft, has people who just play that game and don't do anything with their lives as much, because it's just, you know, ridiculous. Plus, there are definitely cheaters still, because when you watch kill cams and stuff, you can see them tracking you with no UAVs, no anything, no footsteps. And yeah, they made a big deal about, you know, in this latest update, getting rid of cheaters. Hasn't really happened. So, kind of soured. I started off being kind of addicted to the multiplayer with Call of Duty Black Ops 7. But it's taken a little bit of starting to go a bit iffy, and I would like to see how Battlefield 6 progresses with updates versus the Call of Duty they have planned for this year. But nothing is, yeah, a lot of these studios are not in a great state at the moment. And finally, I want to talk about Trails in the Sky First Chapter. This is such a weird surprise for me, because I have been trying to get into JRPGs forever, and I finally found something that I love in Trails in the Sky First Chapter. Now, I've never played Trails in the Sky before. I've played your mainline JRPGs, Final Fantasy, Persona, those kinds of JRPG games, Ni no Kuni, and I've got on okay with them. I've completed some of them, Final Fantasy and that. But, like, if it requires too much grind, I've never, you know, I'm a bit, and I've never, like, gotten into Ys or, you know, any of these kind of Trails or the other, like, hardcore JRPGs, because they all, to me, looked very much the same, where it's just like, okay, a bunch of teenagers want to save the world from something, blah, 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 blah. I read a lot about Trails in the Sky First Chapter, and I thought, you know what, it seems to have a focus on story. I am very much a story kind of player, and so I decided to give it a go, and I'm 15-20 hours in, which is not a lot in the grand scheme of the whole game. But this, I would say, this is one of my favorite games, alongside Stalker, of my recent, you know, pickups. Because yes, there is grinding, and it gets on my nerves to an extent, but there's so much behind it. Like, the story is so interesting, the side missions are so interesting, the fact that you're like a bracer in this kind of fantasy world, and bracers are kind of like monster hunters that help people out, but it's tied to this big kind of conspiracy and these pirates who have like kidnapped your father, and then there's kind of this conflict between these two warring nations, and it's all tied in. And that sounds kind of JRPG, but it's hard to explain unless you've played the Trails games, like how well done it is, and just how lifelike the worlds feel, and how each region feels different. So I would say this one is really good. I think this is getting cheaper now if you want to get physical, but you can get it digitally. So yeah, Trails in the Sky. It's a really good one to get, I think. Ball times Pit. I have this digitally, and I want to talk about it because it's probably one of like the best indie games of recent times. You are, if you haven't heard of it, it's a kind of like pixel art game. You go on this track, like a kind of like the old school arcade top-down flight shooters. Do you remember with like the Space Invaders, where like the enemies come from the top and you shoot? I forget, shmups. So it's that, but in a lane, but with like, you control a character and you shoot like a ball, and it bounces off the walls and hits enemies, and the enemies get like skeletons and stuff like that, and they get harder and harder, and it's a roguelike. So what happens is you die, and then you go back to this main screen, and the main screen is basically a plot of land, and you can build on it. And say you build a farm or buildings, you then send the character that you just used out to gather resources, and then you build more stuff, and then you go back and you do another run and you try and beat the bosses, and then you unlock more characters and all of that. But in the actual gameplay, you also unlock these balls. So you start off just throwing a ball, and then you might you level up, and then it will say, hey, what do you want? Do you want a poison ball? The poison will, you know, tick off an enemy life, or this one will go through enemies, or this one will freeze enemies. But then, so you start collecting more and more balls as you're going through these runs. Then you'll unlock the ability to evolve them or combine them, so that one ball will do two things, and then you pick up more balls, and it gets to the point where there's like balls flying everywhere. It's absolute chaos. And then you expand your land back on like the main hub area. You expand your land, you build more things, you build more people, you go on more runs in different levels, and it's kind of like got that Darkest Dungeon hook sort of thing, where you're like, yes, I need to keep playing. So that's a really good one. And it's cheap. It's like $15 or something. It's easy to pick up, play. It might even be less than that. It's a game that's perfect on the Switch, or if you want to take it on the go, you can quickly do a 5-10 minute run and put it down again. So I'm slowly making my way through that. Ball Pit, if you haven't played it, or if you have played it, let me know what you think. So that wraps up this week's video. If you're still here, please leave a like, subscribe for more like this, and leave a comment and just let me know what you have played, what you haven't played, what you think of these types of video where it's more just talky and less edity. I'm planning on doing a video like this every couple of weeks or a month based on how much I've picked up, and it's just nice to kind of informally chat about what we've been playing and all of the games that we buy with money we don't have. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.